Hello, my friend. We have arrived. We are in session 11, the final, the ultimate session of the Shared Experience Summit. And our theme today is domains and niches, which is really the same thing as saying big and small, and how in some ways we want to be big. We have this innate belief as creators that what we have to offer is significant, and that there are many, many people out there who would benefit from experiencing us and our gifts. At the same time, we're aware that it's important to focus on a niche. A niche, or you might say niche. I've been hearing a lot of people say niche, so I've chosen to adopt niche for today. A niche is safe. You can work your way into a niche in the rock. It's like a cave, and be protected there. Know that you can find people within that niche. A domain is large. If you're a master of your domain, you have places to wander. You have places to explore. You can gather the world into your domain. You can make your domain coextensive with the world. Your domain can be unlimited. Both of those can work hand in hand. And that's what I'm demonstrating with my own work. On one hand, I have Scoby Social, a platform which can contain multitudes. On the other hand, I have my own practice, which I'm honing, in which I'm focusing more and more on who my dream clients are, who would benefit the most from me. And that's what I'm gathering together in a very focused way. I'm going to be revealing quite a lot at the end of this message for you today. But I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'd like to introduce our guests first, and then I'll be describing what's coming soon. And what I'm creating is for you. If you're watching this, then the whole system I've put together is working. I'll explain more about that, but it really is about the signals I've put out into the universe, and being aware not of who I want to gather, who I want to serve, but who I can be of most service to. So those signals I've put out are like a moth with pheromones. Only other moths who are of the same species, but of the complementary gender identity, will be attracted to those pheromones. And that's really the basis of this entire system, which I'm going to be describing more after this, is understanding that your ideal partners, clients, customers, colleagues are on a quest. They're on their own creative quest. They're on their own creative quest of discovery, of growth, of personal development, of professional development. and they're filled with the purpose of projects. Some are individual soul projects. Some are projects that include others. Some are projects that include thousands of people. Some are projects that are nations. Some are projects that are international. But all of these concepts, all of these notions work together on a map. And I've invented my own set of techniques that I call map shifting. And you've seen over the course of this summit actually how that's evolved and what signals I sent out in the beginning that attracted the people who could support my coevolution, support my co-creation, and whose evolution I can support. So there is truly magic in this entire offering that I have put together, and I am very literally offering to the universe. It's an offering in the sacred sense, like the burnt offerings of the Israelis. It's an offering like the Lakota offerings and many indigenous tribes in the Christian church, their offerings. So this is my offering to you. After I introduce our co-creators today, I will be sharing for the first time this offering that you'll receive through multiple channels, and I very much hope you take me up on this. So first, we have Mayan Gordon. This is actually an interview, a short video I created back in October when I was first deeply formulating the concept of SCOBY. And I first put together my initial programs. We started earlier. I started SCOBY. I actually incorporated back in June, almost a year ago. We'll have a nice party end of June, or mid-June. I believe it was June 16th that I incorporated SCOBY. So we'll have a SCOBY Society. So we'll have a 1-year anniversary of SCOBY Society. And I immediately sought out experts who I believe could support me. And I found Mayan on Upwork. I just searched for influencer and someone who knew about influencer marketing. She really intrigued me because she had over 2 million followers on LinkedIn. She had sold $1 million worth of various offerings on Instagram, and she was building a very robust community on the professional network of LinkedIn. So she clearly had social media down. And what to me was really unique about her was her spirit of generosity. After the first call, I just engaged her immediately as my personal social media guide. And then we worked out, she was agreeable to go through my very first program, an 8-week program called Protectors and Providers that I brought some of my mentors and guides as well as clients, and I brought people through my first program, and that really refined what I was going for. So I'm very grateful to Mayan. She is also now offering a TikTok program. I believe that also starts next month. I believe that starts in June. I'll provide a link to that program right next to her video. So some of the material in that is dated. I wanted to use it as a whole, because it's going to be interesting to see what remained from last October, now over half a year ago, and is still working its magic into my project of SCOBY. So next we have Chuck. Chuck is such a wonderful man. Chuck Warner, I don't actually remember when I first met him. But my big experience with him was in Las Vegas at Consumer Electronics Show, when his generosity of spirit, maybe that's actually where I met him, I don't know, but we just became best friends there. He has magazines, which you would imagine are, that's an industry that's in huge transition. But as most people were fleeing the print magazine business, he went out and started putting out Innovation in Tech Today, Cannabis in Tech Today, Sustainability Today, building these franchises and coming up with amazing co-creative ways to bring them in. So, Chuck, you're gonna want to be on Chuck's Magical Mystery Ride. You're gonna want to find out ways to be part of his ecosystem, because he really creates bespoke. I just saw what he did for his clients and how he brought them out into the world in such a big way, really understanding them. And he really did that for me. After we had an amazing time at CES, really just blowing the roof off of Las Vegas. We did a program at Solar Power International for my solar energy company, and he created worlds of opportunity for me. So he's another. If you have an offering that you want to get out in the world, there'll be a link on how to connect with Chuck. Next, Mike Marino. Mike was a PepsiCo executive for 15 years, a senior sales executive at Frito-Lay. So those chips being on hand, readily available, that's Mike's work. Mike was really interesting to me because of the title of his book. He is an executive coach. I'm fascinated by executive coaching. His book title was Transform Yourself, Transform Your Organization. The subtitle is Why Leaders Always Go First. And I was really interested in that concept of modeling the behavior of transformation. There's this sense of the executive coach, or of the executive, that comes from, the Neutron Jack, the Chainsaw Al, that we are in it for shareholder value. Screw the employees, screw the customers, screw the environment. This is what we're here for. This is what we're going to be compensated for. The idea of those leaders going through a journey of transformation, finding their purpose, their real purpose, and doing that first so that their organization can transform, and that their organization will transform person by person by recognizing the gifts that come from personal transformation. Just the whole thing. I mean, I found him on LinkedIn. I was doing lots and lots of searches and looking for the creators that I wanted to introduce you to. So Mike interested me, and as you'll see, He really is somebody that if you are in a large organization, you're looking for an executive coach, he's probably your guy. If your guy or your gal is not Dina or one of the other executive coaches that we have here. And again, that's part of what I'm birthing in the world. I know that the signals that these creators, all of these creators, are putting out there are going to attract their perfect mate in their co-creative journey, because that's what we're doing. If you watch, if you unpack the way I'm interacting in co-creation, in conversation with all of these creators on the platform, what I'm doing is eliciting their deepest, most authentic self. I'm guiding people past their pretense, past their fears, past whatever might be hiding them, and guiding them to an authentic self. Sometimes I'm doing that just in the moment. Some of the people that you're experiencing in this summit, I've been working with for many months, some for years. And some that I've been working with for years were my mentors, and they became co-creators with me, where I'm guiding them and they're guiding me. Others, we started in a relationship where I was guiding them. That is the magic of map shifting. What we're doing is connecting our maps, and we're getting ourselves out of our ego attachments to outcomes and to identity. We're essentially getting ourselves out of our narcissism, which all of us have, into the echo. Explore the myth of Narcissus and echo. Look at the picture. Narcissus doesn't hear the sound of echo because Narcissus is obsessed with his own image. He's obsessed with his brand. He's obsessed with himself, and yet this voice of the lunar, of the deeper self, of the seed of truth that's always present and available to you, is right behind you. That's what echo is. It's the echo of your voice in the universe. It's how the universe comes back to you. It's the basis of part of my gifts. Within map shifting, there's a technique called the touchstone method, which I won't share with you right now, but we will get to. I'm not withholding it. We're just in the middle of some introduction. So if I don't in this, if I don't remember to share more about the touchstone method, you can just send me a note, and I'm happy to share that more with you. Next, Robert Wetzel. You know what? I actually could call the method just as much echolocation. That's what you're really doing in map shifting. So we'll all pull our bat guides, our winged mammal guides, and we'll bring echolocation into map shifting. So I have now relinquished the touchstone method. There's actually a critic, I believe it was Andrew Johnson, who used the touchstone method for his criticism in terms of how you identify what great poetry was. So I'm actually now fully relinquishing the touchstone method. That's now floating downstream. I actually learned from my wife this morning that the Finns, we have this English expression, water under the bridge. And the Finns say the snows of last winter. So the touchstone method is water under the bridge. It's the snows of last winter. Next, we are introducing Robert Wetzel. Robert is someone who's really important to me for many, many reasons. One is as a friend and mentor, particularly a mentor within his domain of government service and government contracting, but also in technology. I mean, he's sparks flew in our first meeting in a coffee shop. No, yeah, our first co-creative meeting in a coffee shop. We first met for dinner somewhere near BWI Airport when I was going and picking up my son from his music therapy trip to Barcelona when he was an undergraduate. And we had a wonderful dinner, but we wound up getting together at this coffee shop to work on some blockchain concepts, and I really saw his genius. I saw his deep, deep genius. And in this co-creative journey, he chose to step up and invest in my projects. At the time, he invested in a company called Indico Union. That did not work out for him. He lost his money, but he still chose to step up and invest in Scoby, invest more. I have several other investors like that. Some have made money, some have not made money, but many of them understood that what I was bringing was important and that I was constantly learning, constantly evolving, and that I was co-creating this with them. So I listened to the advice of my investors, and I forge deep co-creative relationships with my investors. And inshallah, I will have an offering that you might be able to participate in. Can't say more because you always have to file paperwork with the SEC before you really reveal anything of substance. So when I do, I will reveal something to you if you all choose to invest. So back to Robert. I'm guiding him on. He's been in government as chief data scientist for the Department of Defense. Has worked magic in transforming incredibly complex systems with data oceans. He has his own proprietary technology for extracting insights from data oceans. And he's now offering a new program for those who want to offer their goods and services to the government. I'm going to be taking him up on this because I believe executive coaching, guidance, that all works through the Office of Personnel Management. And I'm going to be finding my way into the world of government services and contracting, which is something that's been I've done it before. I actually I was executive director of the National Technology Transfer Center. I worked for the state of West Virginia. I was a political appointee for Governor Manchin. I have sold to the government with the company ImageTree, and with others. I sold to many government agencies as the VP Geospatial Solutions for Sewell. But I have found that Robert Wetzel, his deep understanding of current contracting vehicles and how to get money fast, he will share some of that. And there will be a link to how to get in touch with him right next to that. Or maybe not. I actually don't know. So what I'll do is, I know he's not on LinkedIn anymore, and his full webinar platform program isn't launched yet. So I'm just going to put his email address, and you can just drop him a note. and then I'll change that to the trailhead for his program once that's done. So if you're watching this video, this communication is time travel. I'm setting this out here, so you might see a link to his training, his free training on government contracting. All right. Finally, the final presentation, exploration, dialogue of this entire summit is Arman Ananian, who is the guy behind the guys. The way I found him was I paid a boatload of money to Frank Kern to teach me about online selling and marketing. I took his program. I signed up for so many things. I've told you that before. I signed up for micro offers, free offers, low ticket, high ticket. I signed up for a lot of stuff. But one offer he made is about ROAS, return on ad spend. And this is an offer where if he doesn't provide a return on your ad spend, he will refund all the money that you put into your ads. So I thought, okay, it's what they call in the online selling business, risk reversal. This is massive risk reversal. If you don't get what you're going for, hey, you get your money back. So this wasn't just a money back guarantee if you're not satisfied in 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. Here's your money back. This is, hey, if you put $10,000 into a campaign and you don't get at least $10,000 back in business, you get your $10,000 back. Now, that seemed, okay, I'm gonna do that. Well, who runs my ad but Arman Ananian? How did I know he was doing it? Well, because he had the email address arman@frankkern.com. And he wrote back to me. He provided a video showing the campaign he set up, why he did certain things, what audiences he went after. I'm telling you, on the first $186 I put into ads, I got $15,000 back. God's honest truth. The first $186. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the details on how Arman did that. But watch this video. I'm now, since he did such a fabulous job for me, I am guiding him on his journey of getting big and being the agent behind other agencies. Just like he's been for Frank Cardone. He's been a media buyer for Frank Cardone. And he's expanding that business, but we're also, as we shift our maps, as we shift the landscape, he's also finding new ways to serve all of his clients, his enterprise clients. He has life coaches, real estate agents, large equipment companies for construction. It's another rehab centers. We're finding ways together to serve his clients on a much bigger scale. So you'll love Armand's big heart, his wisdom, his curiosity, just like I have. And with that is all of the, I don't even know how many, I know it's over 40 individual presentations here. I am looking to go live in Scobie with 50 initial creators. And there are still some spots open. It's something we have something like probably 41, 42 so far, which means there are 8 or 9 spots left to be one of those initial creators on the Scobie platform. All you have to do is, you've gotten all these emails from me. I'm very curious about who out there is actually paying attention to each of these. So this offer of being one of the final 8 on the platform, which could reap tremendous rewards. We will see. We could blow up your offerings really, really quickly. The way to find out is to respond to this email that I've sent you. Respond to my instructions are very specific. Respond to this email that includes the link to this video, this session 11, domains and niches. Write back with just the words, I'm in. If you write back with the words, I'm in, and again, only the first 8 who do that, I will share with you the pathway to be one of the first co-creators on Scobie. All right, so what's next? I did promise I was going to share this offering. So I'm going to start with a little story about my science teacher from 7th grade. I took chemistry from Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright had a mannequin where you could take out all of the parts, take out the lungs, take out the hearts. He called his mannequin Seymour Organs. And I really love that. So Seymour Organs was this mannequin at the front of the room, which you can go out anytime. Oh, it's biology. Yes, of course. He must have been teaching biology if we did all this mannequin stuff. No, but, well, I'll tell you when because I think we dissected the frogs with him. Mr. McKinstry was my chemistry teacher in 8th grade. Yeah, so Mr. Wright was biology in 7th grade. He also, one thing I remember about him and love about him was he told us he had this test, and he said, read every single one of the questions before you start, and before you start the test. And it was timed, and it was some sort of bonus project, but he said it, and he didn't really stress it, but he just said, read through the entire test before you do it. I don't know how many people did, but there were 44 questions on the test. And when you got to the very end, 44 was, you actually don't need to answer any of the other questions. Just, you're done for the semester. Feel free to take out a book, do whatever else you want in your desk, and you can leave class 20 minutes early. He didn't want everybody just the people who got it, just getting up and taking off. And he called this question 22 because of Catch 22. That book, I hadn't read Catch 22 at the time. At least I don't think. Maybe I had, but I certainly read it soon afterwards. The reason I'm telling the story, and I haven't even gotten to the point of the story, but the reason I'm giving that introduction to the story is that I remember Mr. Wright. I saw one of my art teacher at the same time, Mr. Champlain, was turned 100 yesterday. And one of my classmates posted a photo of this art teacher. I don't even really remember him. Maybe I don't think I even took art. I don't know. But I do remember Walt Bartman, my art teacher. He really changed my life. Because for one reason, he had us carry around sketchbooks. And a big part of the grade was just recording. And I really found my spirit as an artist and my life as an artist, as a multimedia artist, because I started sketching people, and mostly people who were important to me. And I found I could connect with them in a deeper way by really seeing them and seeing the interplay of light and shadows on them. But I would also write little notes in my sketchbooks. I remember one, I still carry sketchbooks. Now I more use my phone. I'm constantly just taking notes, taking pictures, putting them together. Rather than having a book with me, I kind of have my sketchbook all the time. So I'll annotate videos, I'll annotate notes, but I'm always, always taking notes on the universe. This is something I advise you to do. Take notes and then compare notes. Pay attention. So in this, you can just be listening and absorbing, and I really want you just to experience it. But maybe at the end, go back through it and take notes. Or what I do is I send all of these through Otter, and you can just play this out loud with Otter in the background, and that'll transcribe everything, and you get everything in these. And as I explained before, I'm going to be giving links to all these tools, and I would appreciate if you use those links, because I'm an affiliate of a lot of these tools I use. I don't recommend them because of that, but I do get compensated when my audience members, when my co-creators choose to use the tools that I recommend. And that is going to be part of this program that I'm offering, how to monetize everything. And that really helps as a co-creator. It's kind of like if you're a sports star and you're also, once you're retired, you're going to trade shows and giving autographs. Sometimes you just got to monetize it. A lot of athletes take my wife's communications courses. She's a university professor, because they understand they've got to monetize their gifts by learning communications, because they're not going to have the physical attributes that they have while they're in college. So part of the creator's quest is monetizing everything, and that just really creates where the energy flows. But I'm still getting ahead of myself. Why am I telling this story about, well, actually I hadn't finished with that thread that I was bringing around about Walt Bartman, who is doing an art show in Shepherdstown soon. It's actually up now, but he's going to be there this weekend. I also really remember Mr. Gilhool, my European history teacher, because he told stories and he acted things out. Like, I can still see him walking back and forth as a Prussian soldier. And some of these were stories that related. Some of these stories weren't. I mean, he would tell the story about, and in hindsight, it's incredibly cruel, but catching pigeons with fishing lines and bubble gum and popcorn. Like, and then the pigeons would fly. I mean, it probably wasn't even a true story. I certainly hope not. And he would tell stories about when he was a mailman, but his stories kept your attention. All of them, the historical stories. I remember, um, I'm blanking his name, Joe Rona from Bayonne, New Jersey, who is a socialist history teacher. And I'll always remember him as a socialist because of his stories. Um, I told you earlier about Richard Abel, my anthropology teacher, who really opened my mind to essential and vital and indigenous worldviews, and understanding that it was part of my creative quest to actually adopt my essential, unique worldview, to see the world from where I am, not from what my parents taught me or what school taught me. And this goes back to something really important about Mr. Gilhool. So he taught modern European history. And I remember him talking about Nietzsche and how Nietzsche's theory of the Superman, the Overman, the Übermensch was partially responsible for Nazism. And I thought to myself, how is that possible? I read No One Here Gets Out Alive, the biography of Jim Morrison. And Jim Morrison loved Nietzsche. He loved Rimbaud. And I just couldn't. I had read Rimbaud in my French class because of Jim Morrison. We had to memorize and recite a poem in French. So I memorized The Drunken Boat. And the Rimbaud poem. Now I don't even remember what the French title is. That's how far gone it is. But I discovered, Baudelaire and all these amazing. And I don't know if I did it on any of these recordings. But Baudelaire is a poem I really recommend you read, a poet you read. It's all about correspondences. And I really understood correspondence, meaning other people, also synchronicity, a lot of that through his poetry. But back to Nietzsche. I said, let me go to the source. So I rode my bike to Second Story Books in Bethesda, and I bought the Portable Nietzsche. And I read Walter Kaufmann's introduction. And I started flipping through and reading this guy, and I was like, AP European History got it all wrong. This course got it all wrong. I went up to him and I said, no, Nietzsche's philosophy was 100% antithetical to what gave rise to Nazism. His sister completely edited his sister and his sister's husband. I don't remember his name. But they took his philosophy and completely distorted it and fed fascism. And I was like, wow. That was one of the things that I majored in philosophy at Yale. And I told him this, and he said, wow, that's really interesting. But this is what I'm taught. This is the curriculum. This is handed down. But we did have a conversation, which was really interesting, in that class. And so, I really, and, Ashby Bryson, another one of my teachers, I was really grateful when he was talking about the prohibition, that he didn't mind my bringing up the current prohibition against psychedelics. And we had that conversation back when I was in high school. So your teachers are your teachers, your gurus, your guides, whether they were in the classroom, whether it's in this summit. Those are your people guides. There are also other guides out there. I have my guides on my medicine shield, which is I can look at and see. And I've talked about your guides are out there in nature. I got a message from Starlight, my name for Sheila, the clairvoyant comic you've met, where she sent me a photo of her ladybug guide. Ladybugs bring safety. You know that poem, Ladybug, Ladybug, Fly Away Home. Your house is on fire, your children alone. Ladybug is the protector and provides that safety for her children. Her spots are a warning to predators that she contains poison and she has very few natural enemies. She is a predator herself. She eats aphids. She's wonderful for gardens. You want more ladybugs. So she's safety, but she's also fearlessness. She has nothing to fear. You see all those pictures, and if you watch them, the ladybug will climb to the highest height, to the very end of a blade of grass before she takes flight. So you learn so much. Yesterday I was watching these bright and risen angels, the cicadas rising through the trees right outside my window. That's another book I recommend. One of my human guides, my two-legged guides, William T. Vollman, his book, You Bright and Risen Angels, is one that just changed my life, and the rainbow stories. Really, You Bright and Risen Angels in particular, which is about cruelty. And I'm going to share a video under this of the band Camptown singing their song about protecting bugs from the perspective of a 14-year-old and why you shouldn't be mean to bugs. And I remember just seeing my grandson, we were looking at this ant, and he stood up suddenly and just started putting his foot on it, and I was shocked. And I just grabbed him and moved him aside, and we had this conversation. He's 2 years old. He has maybe, I don't know, I'm sure he has a couple hundred words in his vocabulary of what he can say. He just turned 2. Maybe only a dozen or so that he can say, but I'm sure he has hundreds and that he understands. And the most important thing that I can convey to another person, and that I'm really working to share with you, is these techniques of empathy and the gift of empathy. And that is the gift of the saint, the sage, the shaman, and the seer. That is the gift of the mentor, the coach, the partner, the guide. That is the gift of the creator. It's understanding that part of you that if you share it, other people will benefit from them. And finding that part of the other person that has the essence of their significance. What I'm eliciting from you is the essence of your significance. Not the fact that you're significant. I know you're significant because that is the way creation operates. There is nothing in creation that is not significant, that is not necessary. Spinoza proved that rationally. That if you were not essential for the entire universe, you would not exist. And the moment that you're no longer essential, you will not exist. So continue to co-create with the universe, and you will be sustained by the universe. Through many, many lifetimes, through many, many forms, your essence will continue to share. So back to my story about Mr. Right. You might have forgotten about Mr. Right. I did not. Mr. Right said, this was this offhand joke in the classroom. He said, I'm actually doing another little diversion. One of Nietzsche's mysterious aphorisms is, a joke is the epitaph on the death of an emotion. Really interesting. Our jokes are our scars. Sit with that. It's not that they're not important. Our feelings are still there, and that's what's important, is separating feelings and emotions. You can still feel while you joke. Really pay attention to Starlight, Sheila Smiley, the clairvoyant comic. There is so much power in humor. So, back to Mr. Right. He said, now I'd like everybody to light their Bunsen burners named after Mr. Burner. And then he kept talking and talking, and I just thought, of course, I laughed a little bit because it was not named after Mr. Burner. It was clearly named after Mr. Bunsen. Its utility is being a burner. Flames come out of it. You light it and flames come out. And you can control the height of the flame based on the amount of fracked gas that goes through this system. But it got me thinking this morning. When I woke up and I was preparing for this conversation with you, as I was preparing for this conversation with you, I thought it's actually the perfect story for this conversation, because Mr. Bunsen, who I didn't even bother to look up, I should have. I could Google right now Bunsen and find his story, gave something to chemistry, gave something to science that was significant enough that people named it after him. At the same time, you have here, I know we have Pilates instructors. And that was named after Jack Pilates. And I started wondering, well, what if these Pilates instructors, instead of, in addition to teaching Pilates, what if they innovated? And what if they added on? Just like those More to Life champions are applying some of Brad Brown's work and adding on, like my dear friend and mentor, Warren Kahn. He understood his core gift, his significant essence of navigation, and is building a program that moves forward, just like Denver Dan said so beautifully, brings forward from the past, creates this tapestry, this thread of all of these notions, of all of the genius, of all of the people from the past. Every syllable, every utterance, every echo. That's what echo is the echo of the past. So and then one more I thought of, Bikram yoga, and then they just started coming to me. So Bikram is, there's a lot about him coming out. There are a lot of shadows of Mr. Bikram. And very often, I mean, if you Google Tony Robbins sexual harassment, you'll see that, or, all kinds of things. There's an 8-part series in BuzzFeed about Tony Robbins. I'm bringing this forward not to criticize or expose. Because I have faced many, many exposing life shocks, and I've really grown from them. There's something at the core of NLP, which is Tony Robbins's method that he built on, that is about power and about the power of words and using words to manipulate, persuade, and influence. And so certain powers that you have are not necessarily the same as your gifts. The gifts come with the empathy and with seeing deeper. And that's the gift that I am offering you, is a pathway to find not your own gift, but find the gift in others. And what will happen is just what happened for me over the course of this summit. What I came in this for was, I am going to find in these people, I'm going to interact with these people and find that most significant gift at the center of their deepest selves. And in doing that, in traveling through their maps, in shifting their maps, I shifted my own map. As Howard Tite says, transformation only occurs in dialogue. Transformation only occurs in dialogue. So through these dialogues, there were so many little moments, so many things I can bring together that shifted me and that will shift you if you watch all of these. It will happen. You can be an observer and still get that breakthrough, empathetic breakthrough, as the two parties have that conversation. That's the magic of this. And you will get more of a breakthrough in dialogue with me personally. And that's what this offer is really coming to. I have an offer. It's on the website, but I haven't explained how to do it. And that's what part of this offer is going to be. How you can have, as a free pass holder, a 20-minute map shifting session with me, and as a all access pass holder, a 45-minute map shifting session with me. And there's more, which I will share with you again shortly when this goes live. You will see the trailhead for the map shifting that we will be doing together, which is really, really super spectacular. But I'm going to keep going for another minute because, and maybe more, because this story is important. It is significant to me, and I believe it will be significant to you. Fermat is another. Fermat, you might have heard of Fermat's theorem, Fermat's last theorem, final theorem, which all of these mathematicians try to solve. It's like this huge thing. I'm not a mathematician. My daughter someday, I'm sure, will solve it. Daisy, studying quantum physics and mechanical engineering and everything else. Always that bright shining star at math field day. I was in Calc BC, my senior year of high school, and I got into Yale early, and I said, why in the heck would I take my second semester of calculus? So I did not finish Calc BC. I just did the first semester of Calc BC. So I was good at math, I guess, but it was not part of my passion. Back to this. Fermat's theorem. So Fermat was a lawyer, but this is a mathematical theorem. Same thing here. We have a lawyer who's also a medium. Being a creator is not a job. Being a creator is a calling. Being a creator is your destiny. If you are a CEO, you can be such a powerful CEO if you are a creator CEO. And I don't just mean like Elon Musk, who tweets a lot. That's the old school. I mean, that's an influencer CEO. There's a book, Good to Great, which Frank Kern just recommended. And, I'm on Frank Kern's Telegram channel. And he just said, I just discovered Good to Great, read it. And his Telegram channel is just one way. So I can't just write back to him and say, oh my God, ignore Good to Great. I read Good to Great back when it first came out. I participated in workshop sessions at Sewell all around Good to Great because my mentor there, the chief operating officer, Dave Stevens, brilliant, but he used that as a rubric in terms of finding your hedgehog. I have Fox on my medicine shield, and I realized the complementary nature between the fox and the hedgehog. And hedgehogs, while they are safety and protection, the idea of the hedgehog came from Isaiah Berlin's book, The Hedgehog and the Fox. And the hedgehog only has one strategy, whereas the fox has many. And he said that the companies that went from good to great find their hedgehog. And here's how you find your hedgehog. I'm not going into the whole thing, but it's these three, it's a Venn diagram of three things. What you're most passionate about, what drives your economic engine. I guess I will tell you if I can remember. What drives your economic engine, what you're most passionate about, and what you can be best in the world at. So he did this whole study, all of these companies that beat the Fortune 500, beat S&P by a certain amount for a certain period of time. All these companies. And then he went and studied their leadership and all that. Well, I decided to reread it recently because I was writing a chapter of my own book, which inshallah will come out someday. And that chapter was called Great to Good because I was really interested in CEOs who weren't about greatness, but about goodness. And it turns out that Good to Great is a study in toxic masculinity. And if you take every one of his precepts, Jim Collins' precepts, and you change it, you will go from this industrial economy to the creator economy. And not only that, you will go from an actually sustainable, long-term, ever-growing, flourishing, thriving company, or you will go to that from a company that ultimately will fail, go bankrupt, whatever. Because I looked at every one of those companies that's in good to great, and many of them are bankrupt. Several of them had billions and billions of dollars in lawsuits. In settlements, actually had to give their customers, their employees, billions of dollars because they were not also good. Now, good and great are both judgment words, which I work around. When they come into my mind, good or bad, I really look for what I'm really trying to say, what's deeper, because I am not a judge. Creation brought something into the world, so creation must know that this is vitally important for me to notice. So I'm not going to say that's bad. I'm going to say, thank you. Whatever it is, I'm going to say yes to it, not no to it. This is also something that I learned in More to Life. And their program, Way of a Warrior, I will say again, it's an incredible program, but it can be improved. And I am improving it through my Protectors and Providers program. As I said before, the way I found those words was talking to Four Arrows and say, warrior doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to be with warriors. I don't want to be at war. War is chaos. And he said, protector is this word in Lakota, which means this. And I said, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. So back to the story. This map, your map, is a map of sustainable peace, sustainable justice, sustainable money flows, sustainable love, sustainable energy, a sustainable world. The sustainable itself sounds like ick. That's also kind of a yucky word. Like, is that enough? Well, the fact is, the world itself is so glorious. We are so blessed to be inhabiting this most wonderful of all realms. And this was another fun thing for philosophy. You had Schopenhauer, who basically said this is the worst of all worlds. Not in those words, but that's how, and that's not really what he was saying, but that's kind of how he's been summarized. As a pessimist. He's not a pessimist. He's not necessarily a stoic either. But in his book, The World as Will and Representation and the Fourfold Root of the Principle of Sufficient Reason, Schopenhauer really shows this urge, this struggle, this challenge of creation. My guess is this goes back to what Sophie said, as within, so without. He was in this Germany of oppression, of people oppressing each other, oppressing others. You know, it was just, so he was reflecting that culture, that society. Leibniz, for whatever reason, came up with a concept of this is the best of all possible worlds. And he had this idea of monads. And we used to have all these discussions, Chad, if you're listening to this, how monads are, how monads have windows and what it means for monads to be windowless or not windowless. So, you know, lots of interesting conversations about that and how Leibniz was credited with inventing calculus and not being a math guy. Taking the history of science just to get my fourth distribution credit. That math and science credit that I needed to graduate from Yale. So back to Leibniz and Schopenhauer and Spinoza. What Spinoza said was, this is the only possible world. And that's what I want to stress. So back to Nietzsche. Nietzsche said the truth that this is the only world and it's repeating over and over and over will crush civilization. And only the overman, the superman, which is a going under. It's not a going over. It's not overcoming. It's going deep. It's going beneath. It's going into the unconscious mind. It's resurrecting the Dionysian and marrying the Dionysian with the Apollonian. The solar and the lunar is what going under is what being the overman is. It's a lightness. It's a tightrope walker. It's a jester. Okay. When I first read that, I wanted so badly to be the overman, not because I wanted to rule, not because I wanted subjects, not because I wanted power, but I wanted that lightness. I wanted to know, just like I wanted when I read Black Elk and Way of a Shaman, I wanted to be a shaman, not because I wanted to cast magical spells and have powers. I wanted to experience that. And there is something in that, though. There is some, like Ladybug, having those powers are poison to those people who would do you harm. Right now, I am in litigation. Defamation suits against Rockwool, this company, and against this toxic polluter from Denmark, and against some of their crony capitalists in government who have tried to destroy my businesses, have tried to destroy me, have tried to destroy my family, have really hurt. And what is my secret weapon? It's the truth. And if I keep speaking the truth, my enemies will fall. And that's part of, if you go back and watch Sheila's psychic reading for me, she told the story, and I didn't even tell her what she was saying, but it was so clear what she was telling me. These messages from the other side, from her guides to my guides, through us, through sound and vision. So back to the spectrum. Schopenhauer, worst of all possible worlds. Leibniz, best of all possible worlds. Spinoza, only possible world. That's what the map is. What we understand now from quantum physics is that there are infinite possibility spaces. Actually, I'm not going to say infinite. That's another word that whenever infinite comes up in my mind, I change it to unbounded. Because we don't really understand infinity. We don't know infinity. We don't know if infinity is possible. We don't know if the universe is infinite. But we do know that the universe is unbounded. Or we can say the universe is bounded, and yet within it, the possibility spaces are infinite. For me, unbounded has so much more resonance because what you're doing with each step is opening new possibility spaces. So the reason this is only the only possible world is not a crushing reason. It's not that it's predetermined. It's not that there's been some sort of map that's set and you are fated to do this, that, or the other thing. It's because at every moment you are making a choice. At every moment you are making a choice. And that choice is based on fear. That choice comes from fear. In every moment, because of the way you are designed as an organism, there is some part of you that is tuned to what you're afraid of. And what you're afraid of is one of 5 things: being ostracized, being killed by a wild creature, being killed by another group of people. Falling off a cliff or having some tornado kill you, natural stuff, or disease or poison. Because of those fears, you're able to navigate the universe. You always say no before you say yes. The no is the quicker reaction. That's why if it bleeds, it leads. Red. I'm not wearing red today. If I really wanted to capture your attention, I would wear a red shirt because that suggests there is blood. And you are going to pay attention if there's blood. That's why the ladybug is red. Pay attention to me. So, all of this that I'm offering offers protection for you. Learning how to tell the truth at a very deep level is protection for you. It's a skill. It's a hard-won skill that comes from seeing your exposing life shocks, feeling your limiting life shocks, understanding your exposing life shocks, bringing those all together. So, back to the only possible world. It's the only possible world because it is the world you choose in the moment. When that fear comes, you choose the vicious circle or the virtuous circle. And again, there is no vicious circle and there is no virtuous circle. It's just one. So you choose your step. When you choose that step, if you've created a vicious circle, you can say you're beeped. You get arrested. I remember when I was once driving to Charleston, West Virginia, which is about 5.5 hours away. It's farther from me than New York City. It's in the same state. It's our state capital, but it's farther culturally, geographically than New York City. I remember driving and I was on the phone with Howard Teich, my mentor at the time. Flores is also a mentor, but I was talking to Howard at the time. And I was pulled over by the police for speeding. And Howard called me Hermes. And I understood the police guide. That whole all cops are bastards, ACAB. I really understand. I've been in prison, and I understand the prison guide. I understand hospitals and the hospital guide. As in my conversation with, and when I say in prison, I was in prison in San Quentin, but I was also imprisoned in Montreal for criminal mischief. I have plenty of other stories of being deported from England for conspiracy to defraud Her Majesty's government. I'm not here as a paragon of virtue, and I'm not saying that's what the virtuous circle is. What I'm saying is that Schopenhauer said that the universe is a vicious circle. Leibniz said the universe is a virtuous circle. Spinoza and Four Arrows and Howard Teich and Starlight and Clara, who I'm now calling, you met Clara Francesca. My name for her is Cosmo. That's just how she comes across to me, and now I call her that when we chat. My nickname is Moto. I'll tell you the story sometime of how I got the nickname Moto. I like nicknames. I love nicknames. They resonate more than our birth names. And I've changed my given name to add my wife's name in the middle. I went from David Levine to David Larson Levine because I really wanted to honor how much she's given me on this co-creative quest. She really has been a co-creator of all of this from the time when she designed my business card on our second date. So back to names and worlds. So names create reality. We cast spells. Words create reality. Words co-create reality. So this realist of all possible worlds, only possible world, it's because the world you are co-creating now in real time. It's the world your future selves and future everything co-created with your past self. That's the beauty of the quantum physics guide. Is I understand more of it as I study whatever I study, as I listen to others, whether they're quantum physicists or Sophie Savage. It all comes together, and you cannot control the flow of your gifts. That was the shadow of More to Life, is the concept of intellectual property. To have an experiential learning system where Brad Brown is saying understanding is the booby prize, and then there are these people who participated like John Hoover in Knoxville who would create the leadership axis, the Cold War axis, and Brad Brown, and Sophie innovated on that for their consulting, and they put their names on it. It's understanding the flow of source. There is only one source. Way back there, source is source is source. But we honor our sources, and they honor their sources. So I can honor Spinoza. I can honor Four Arrows. I can honor Sheila, who gifted me with my name. Or not my name, she gifted me with my gift, which is one of the deepest gifts. She gifted me with the gift of magical map shifting. I didn't know what to call what I did until she said, "You're the magical map shifter." So now I'm Moto the magical map shifter. She's the clairvoyant comic. I didn't need to give her that. So now she's Starlight the clairvoyant comic. To the extent that she chooses, she told me she was accepted my name. So back to this, and I'm doing map shifting with Clara. I don't have a name for what she does. Her name for her program is Speakeasy. So that's what she gives people, a way to speak easily, to perform with authenticity. So we're co-creating and we're shifting each other's maps in this, and that's something that you will see when I finally get to the offering that I invite, to the invitation to continue this journey with me. So back to the offer in all of this. What I'm offering you is scale without stress. Scalability is what Silicon Valley is all about. Scalability is destroying our world. In that, scalability is stupid. Scalability doesn't have enough information. So you have, and this comes also honoring source, some of these ideas come from Home Economics by Wendell Berry. That's where some of my economic theory comes from. And I really encourage you to honor source in all of your presentations. So scalability. You have Amazon facing resistance from unions now, because in their quest for scalability, their workers have to pee in bottles in order not to be penalized. Okay? So there's resistance. Now, Jeff Bezos, man, lots of work. Now, him and Elon Musk is also facing resistance, attempts to unionize. When you read about the people who work for, and I'm using my words very clear, very intentionally, who work for Elon or work for that organization, I never use the term people work for me. I won't say never, I probably have. I really look at that term work for. And I actually saw somebody say this on Twitter recently, that, they say it's okay to work for a company, but not to work for your boss. So I work for Denise Denson, the EVP of sales at Viacom. I would never say that. I would say I work for Viacom. I don't even like that. If the organization isn't serving you, there's something imbalanced in that equation. That's what we're getting to in this creator economy. That's what we're getting to in scalability. Scale without stress. In between those worlds, the vicious circle and the virtuous circle is liminality. You can move into organizations under stress without being part of it. People talk about a toxic environment. The environment isn't toxic if you're not affected by the toxicity of others. If it doesn't trigger you. If you see yourself and you tell your truth, if someone says to you, you freaking idiot, God, how can you be so stupid to lose that account? If you very quickly in the moment go through and say, what is he telling me that's true? What is he telling me that's false? What is he telling me that I don't know? What can I learn from? What can I grow from? Clearly, I'm stupid. I can do things that I regret. I can do things that I don't regret, but I'm not going to say to myself I'm stupid, because what does that mean? There's some linear line that says, X, what modality? I could be a kinesthetic genius, right? Not so talented at math. And that goes back to the conversation of neurodiversity and neurodivergence. Someone is using their model and imposing their model. It was someone who was really good at math and really good at science and other things. This particular hegemonic culture, this dominant culture, which says, if you measure here, you can be part of Mensa. And everyone's so proud. Oh, I scored X. I'm a genius. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's making yourself blind, because you're not, and this also goes with that leadership axis, the cold axis, the warm axis, how farther, closer. In More to Life, in the foundation, people were saying, I'm here and you're there. People would take these assessments, which we talked about. The assessments don't tell you who you are. They tell you your current orientation on the map. So it means that here is how you are responding to your environment. If you're in a situation with a lot of other people and you're feeling stress, you're going to have that I on the INTP, whatever you're. If you don't, if you're thriving, it's an E. Well, what that means is it's something to pay attention to. Can you learn to be in those environments without stress? Can you evolve to an EI if you want to? You have that choice of choosing to step back and not be with other people, to be a hermit. Okay? This has been such a blessing for me, this COVID. I actually happen to be an INFP. If I take that test, you probably see me as extroverted. I'm not, according to the Myers-Briggs, and I believe that, because I am more comfortable reading. I am more comfortable studying. I am a curious person, which is what puts me in these situations where I'm often on stage and with other people. But learning from the Myers-Briggs guide, which is the Carl Jung guide, which is the Mandala guide, it's understanding that Everything you experience in the world, those are your guides. That's what scaling without stress is. Scaling without stress is scaling personally, is becoming bigger, is having your map aligned with and coextensive with the world map. So that's scaling your organization, is aligning your world map, aligning your organizational map with a global map. I can map shift organizations. I can work with organizations to shift their own maps. Again, you'll see I'm changing my words as they come out because I'm paying attention to the resonance of the words. If I say I can do that, I'm not honoring the critical co-creative importance of who I am co-creating with. That is what is important. So one thing I'm actually, and this goes into the guidance on scaling without stress. There are messages for different people at different times. You want to give away everything. And I mean that. You want to give away everything. That doesn't mean you're not also asking people to pay you for certain things. So even on this video might be too long for me to post on Kartra, where you're seeing this summit. I might post it on YouTube. When I post it on YouTube, I can make that choice of doing it as public or private. For this video, I'm going to make it private on YouTube because this video is for people who have gone through the summit and have had this experience getting here. If you just skip to this video, it won't mean as much to you. It's, as they say, pearl before swine. And what I also, whenever I quote that from the Bible, quote that from the New Testament, and again, the reason I shifted that is in the Jewish tradition, we have the Torah, which is the Bible, and the New Testament is this add-on. I take it very seriously, and I certainly believe in the divinity of Jesus, just like I believe in the divinity of you. So I am just sharing with you what my beliefs are and my understandings and my experience of Jesus and my experience of other people, and my experience of the Creator and Yahweh and everything else. But I say that because I want you to hear my words very clearly and understand a little bit more of my path and also make choices. I went in a challenge that was for Christian entrepreneurs. It was like this guy who does it calls them kingdom entrepreneurs or kingdom founders or kingdom something. And he says, I'm doing that because this is for Christians. So it's not that I want to exclude people. I mean, you can participate if you're not a Christian, but you can self-select. And this is the same thing here. If you're not open to what I'm sharing, then please self-select. This is a signal I'm putting out there because there are people, I don't turn people away, but I really do want people as fellow travelers who are comfortable with who I am. Okay, so back to scaling without stress, because I just want to wrap this up. So this program that I'm going to be offering, this link that I'm going to be offering, is a program on scaling without stress. So scaling you as a person, becoming bigger in the universe, okay? It's also, scale goes both ways. It's also becoming smaller. becoming so small that you can work in that subatomic world. You can work in that quantum reality. You can create spooky actions at a distance. There are times you want to become like Ant-Man, very, very small. Okay? You want to pay good attention. No, not good. You want to pay close attention to ant medicine. We are participating in ant medicine. We are a eusocial culture where these pheromone trails we're leaving for each other in words are gathering us as all autonomous. Who is the queen ant? You are. Who is the worker ant? You are. Ant colonies, sometimes they colonize other ants, right? How are we evolving? We're evolving. Where in E.O. Wilson's book, which I've mentioned before, on the meaning of human existence, he basically says this: we're constantly, our co-creative journey is a war where our better angels of how one society defeats another society because it cooperates more than competes, but it's still competing with another society. So there's still this survival of the fittest in it. There's still this Darwinian legacy. On the other side, he says, succeeding within a culture is this other part, is also how DNA gets propagated. Well, I'm bringing in the Bruce Lipton part of it, the part that Darwin didn't necessarily get to. He got us a certain point, but we didn't have, science hadn't brought us, and intuition, around to this understanding of epigenetics, and that signals from the environment through our senses, through our feelings, actually go to our DNA and say, here is how to express yourself. So the DNA is a blueprint, as Bruce Lipton puts it, right? So you have all of these contractors. We had this cute little, it's what we could afford. We couldn't even afford it. We actually borrowed money to buy this little Cape Cod house for $140,000 on 5 acres of property in the woods on the river. It's where I wanted my free-range children. It's where I wanted to grow old with my wife. We said, let's find a place where we could always live and never move. So we found our home. My wife partnered with an architect to create blueprints for, you see my office. The one thing my one contribution is I want an office, a big office with a lot of light. So you'll see some of my paintings in the background. I have this wall that you can't see, but I have a glass wall that's pebbled glass. So I have light coming in from a skylight. And it's just gorgeous. I mean, I love this ecosystem that my wife and I, Monica and I, have co-created here. And I love being able to invite you into it. This was my idea when we first moved out here. The internet was young, or the commercial internet was young. This was 1995. And I had a vision that I was going to be able to share this environment. I was going to be able to share the birds, the winged nation, and the creepy crawly nation, the six-legged nation, the eight-legged nation, with my spider brothers and guides. I was going to be able to share this with the world through this medium of the internet. That was my vision. So I am going to offer you a program. When you see this, you will see a link called Magical Map Shifters Creative Quest. The program is scale without stress. That's what you are going to gain if you take this program. Scale big, scale small, scale without stress. Let the stress go. Be in the moment. Let the money flow. Let the people flow. Let the projects flow. Whatever you're offering, whether it's tactile goods and services, whether it's digital goods and services, let it flow. That's what scale without stress is. Flow is the complement to stress. Flow is where you have your precision, your solar expertise on one hand, and your open, energetic possibility space on the other. And the two are coming together. That's why I juggle. It's not why I juggle. I juggle because my mom bought me a juggling kit when I was very young. I was misbehaving, as I often did, and she said, I'm going to send you to the circus. She went out and she bought me this Teach Yourself to Juggle kit, and she said, I'm going to teach you, you're going to learn to be a clown, and I'm going to send you to the circus. And I was like, oh my God, that is my dream. And I learned to juggle. And I actually juggled in our talent show. I put together a group. Originally, I joined a group called the Legerdemaniacs. I was a sophomore. They were seniors. They graduated, and then I formed my own group called Juggler Not. And we did these amazingly elaborate routines. We had 7 or 8 jugglers on stage. Senior year, we did an act to Laurie Anderson's In the Air, where this airplane is crashing, and where I was the pilot, the captain, and I was throwing balls and clubs over my shoulder, and Kenny Henschel would catch them and throw one back, and it would go down the line. David Aronstein, I'm just going to do shout outs to Jerry Rourke, Kevin Burkhart. I think that might have been the group senior year. But I don't know if anybody videotaped it. I should go back to Walt Whitman High School and find out. But it was a performance. And that right and left hand, Four Arrows plays handball because of the skill that it gives you in the right and left hand. And that's the balance you'll see in the map shifting work that Clay does. He's the first fellow map shifter that I've ever met. Conscious map shifter. Knowing that what you're doing is map shifting. Being aware that that's a core gift. I've met many other map shifters. So I'm going to wrap this up now. We've gone far enough. Somewhere near here, you will see an invitation to continue the journey with me. My commitment to you is that I will provide openly. I will provide to the best of my ability my support and my guidance on our co-creative journey so that you can scale without stress, so you can bring your gifts to the world. And we will continue together on Magical Map Shifters Creative Quest. Much love, many blessings, shalom, peace, aloha, salam, goodbye, farewell, till we meet again.